Hello and welcome to another edition of Protect and Educate. I'm your host, Marco Johnson. This is a program about safety and security in the Kansas City, Kansas Public School District. Today, our topic is going to be about fentanyl, the drug. Here to join us today is Officer Bradley Boyd with Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Police Department. Officer Boyd, thank you. We appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just jump right into it. What exactly is fentanyl?
Yeah, so fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, which basically means it's a man-made drug that's manufactured in laboratories.
So why is it so deadly? Get to that for us.
Yeah, there's a combination of factors. The first one, I believe, is that when people or folks ingest fentanyl, they aren't doing it willingly. It's oftentimes fentanyl is laced in other drugs, whether it be prescription pills or fake pills or any other illicit type of drug. So when they ingest it, they are intentionally doing it. But then the fentanyl is really, really dangerous because if you can imagine a grain of sand, that amount of fentanyl can be lethal for someone.
A grain.
Absolutely.
That's how potent it is.
That's how powerful it is.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me this: how does one know if it's fentanyl or not? Because I think mistakenly someone could take it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. You don't know, and that's why it is so dangerous. There's a campaign right now, "One pill can kill," and that it's very, very true because when you ingest these pills, oftentimes off the street or from someone you know, you're purchasing something, you really don't know what's in that pill. It's really not safe to take unless it's a prescription fill from a pharmacy.
So where are these fentanyl pills coming from?
Yeah, I would say according to the DEA, a lot of the pills that are trafficked into our country are manufactured in China and brought in illegally. You can find them on the streets, and the problem with fentanyl, at least for our community, oftentimes it's manufactured and sold to look like candy, very colorful pieces, really targeting our students and our kids. And that's what makes it so dangerous for our kids to consume these fentanyl pills.
That brings me to my point. It's geared towards or targeted towards our kids, and that to me worries me as a parent, and rightfully so, correct?
Absolutely. I'm a father, so I definitely understand that perspective. And the thing about a fentanyl pill, oftentimes in law enforcement, you hear the analogy of a chocolate chip cookie. You can cut that cookie in half, and those two halves don't have the same amount of chocolate chips in them. And that's similar to how fentanyl works. One half could be safe, the other half could be a lethal dose. So you have someone who takes a half a pill and they are fine, they take the other half, and ultimately they end up dying.
So how do our kids get a hold of this? Is there some type of, I don't know, how do they get a hold of this?
Yeah, you can buy it like they buy any other type of drug off the street, whether it's marijuana or any other illicit drug. But nowadays, our kids are using social media to purchase these types of drugs, using emojis. The emoji, quote unquote, the emoji game
Wow.
is very, very real, and our kids are experimenting with it and using Snapchat because those messages delete after a certain period of time. Twitter, Facebook, kids aren't on Facebook these days, but yeah, those social media apps are how a lot of our kids and students are buying these drugs. And then, in our schools, unfortunately, they are making their way into it. That's another avenue that our kids are consuming these drugs.
So there's yet another component to this, social media on top of an illicit drug. That's a lot to take in as a parent. So how as a parent, what do you do? What do you say to your kid about this?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the perfect storm, right? It's the perfect combination, the perfect recipe for disaster. Again, I mentioned as a parent, I would say the first thing, it starts with communication. And sometimes as parents, and I'm going to put my dad hat on for a minute if I can, we want to be the person that's given their instructions, that's given the direction. When I first came to the department and I joined the Enough is Enough subcommittee, one of the things we looked at was data from a youth think tank. And our youth told us that, one, they know what fentanyl is. They are very aware of it. They are informed of it. And as parents, I think, we have to take a step back and do something that we aren't accustomed to doing, and is listening first to our children, because they know what it is, and oftentimes they know more than we know as parents, because they are on social media. They are aware of it. So I would say communication is key, listening, and then oftentimes approaching it from a place of love and empathy, because if you don't do that, I believe ultimately you'll be facing that worst case scenario where your kid unable to talk to you, unable to talk to someone, has ingested fentanyl, and they're no longer with us.
Something you just said struck me. Students and kids alike know what it is.
Absolutely.
So why? My question is why? Why would they take something like this?
Well, I believe it's a combination of factors. They don't understand the risks that are associated with it. Our brains are developing up until the age of 25. So our kids, they're still growing, they're maturing, they're developing, and that risk and consequence factor in their brain really hasn't matured. So even though they are aware of it, they haven't put those pieces together to connect those dots. If I take this, I could die. I believe that's where, we as a department, as a district, have to step in and fill that gap, fill that awareness and that education gap. And it's programs like this. In October is Fentanyl Awareness Month, and hopefully we can do lots more of communicating and fill that gap for our kids.
So you mentioned the district. Explain to me a little bit more what the district is doing to kind of stem this tide.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I came to the district last May, the district hosted a community event providing education and awareness to our students, our parents, our community stakeholders. We have another event coming up next month doing the same thing. And ultimately, at every high school, they also have an Enough is Enough student advisory committee. And whatever solution we come up with, we have to make sure, again, back to this listening point, right? Because our kids know what it is. We have to make sure we're engaging our students, engaging our kids, listening, and then whatever solution we're going to provide, make sure that that solution is provided in a way that our kids can receive it and absorb it.
When you say receive and absorb it, sometimes when they hear something from an adult, they may not listen, and which, we've all gone through that.
Yeah.
So I think it's imperative that it's a peer-to-peer interaction. I think that would help a lot. Wouldn't you agree?
I do. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I just went to a training last month. The district sent me to a training for DARE, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Training, and it's a peer-to-peer type of training, and the way that the training is delivered, it's from kids, through kids, to kids.
Okay.
Which means those kids are going to receive it coming from their peers better than from an adult.
This is, to me, is very enlightening, and I appreciate you coming on. What is your hope or your dream is the takeaway when people see this?
That's a great question. Ultimately, I believe it's about providing resources and providing opportunities for our kids and our parents and our community stakeholders to gain additional knowledge and gain education, and use the information that we're putting out there to help them make better decisions. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about decision making and equipping our students with the tools they need to make better decisions.
Equipping our students with the tools they need to make right decisions. As a parent, again, I always draw back to that. We've always tried to teach our kids to make the right decision, and this is, I think, a key component to that.
Absolutely. And it starts with, one, providing that information to them in a way that they can receive it and believe it and absorb it and then use it in their lives.
Officer Boyd, this has been a pleasure. The information you provided today it's insightful, and it's important, because this is an epidemic.
Absolutely, yeah.
So again, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can spread the word and make sure that folks know how dangerous this drug is.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching Protect and Educate, and be safe.